Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing If Beale Street Could Talk. This was directed by Barry Jenkins and is his follow-up film to Moonlight and is based upon a James Baldwin novel of the same name. It stars Kiki Lane, Stephen James, Regina King and Brian Tree Henry. And it really focuses on the relationship between Fonny, played by Stephen James, and Tish, played by Kiki Lane. They're teen sweethearts and it really focuses on their relationship. Ultimately, their relationship is torn apart when Fonny is accused of a crime he did not commit and ends up in prison. It's really about her and her family trying to band together and trying to get her fiancé out of prison. She ultimately finds out she's pregnant and she's trying to deal with that and the fact he's in prison as well. And it sort of takes its toll. The film really looks at their relationship, which is told through flashbacks. So we get to see particular moments in their relationship and what transpired for Fonny to end up in prison. They faced a lot of difficulties to try and live a normal life. And it ultimately captures that particular time and place of what was happening in the world, how African Americans were treated and how difficult it was for them in that particular time and particular area that they lived in. And how they were trying to make their own world, their own lives, their own things, but also going up against racism and a variety of other things that transpired for them. This is a fly on the wall look at this particular relationship. I really liked this film. Firstly, it was beautifully shot. One of the best shot films I think I've seen in a while, and it is, to me, should be a true contender for the Oscars. I just think it's so beautifully shot. I like the colors, I like the shots used. There's a great tracking shot at the start of the film which looks fantastic. And there's particular shots that are just beautifully shot throughout the film. Barry Jenkins seems to have a particular style now that he follows on from Moonlight, that he did and won the Oscar for Best Picture. And this sort of feels like that quite a bit in its pacing and the story it's trying to tell. And he has a unique style that we're starting to see more and more with the films he does make. This film feels a lot like a Spike Lee film, especially films like Do the Right Thing and 25th Hour, and it's very interestingly done and put together, and I was impressed with what I saw in front of me. All the acting is fantastic in it. I think Regina King does a really great job here. It's a role that really suits her, and she has some really solid and great moments throughout the film of a mother trying to look after her pregnant daughter and trying to get her pregnant daughter's fiance out of prison and the lengths that she goes to do this. I think Brian Tree Henry, who I've only seen really in Widows, and I know he's been in a few other shows and movies, I think he's really great in this film. He only has a small but powerful role in this film. He plays Fonny's friend and he's released from prison after spending 2 years there, and these two old friends meet up and there's this really powerful scene in the house where they're talking about, Brian Tree Henry's talking about what it's like to go to prison and how difficult it is and the things he saw and how what it did to him as a person, what he went through was quite powerful in these little moments. And this scene between these two men, these two friends and really solid actors, is absolutely just one of the most powerful scenes in the film, and I was really impressed with that. The glass at the prison is such great and powerful scenes that are humorous but also quite powerful and shocking at times. Kiki Lane, who I hadn't seen before, is really solid as Tish, and you get feel a lot for her particular character and the emotions that she's going through and the things that she's facing within the film. I think Stephen James does a really great job playing Fonny. I think he's really solid in this and has some really great moments, especially the scenes with him talking to Trish through the glass at the prison is such great and powerful scenes that are humorous but also quite powerful and shocking at times. I think Barry Jenkins is a solid filmmaker. I've enjoyed this and Moonlight, and I look forward to seeing what else he does. You can tell he has a lot of passion for this project. He put a lot of himself into this, and he really wanted to tell this story and really capture James Baldwin's words. And he ultimately was working on this film when he was doing Moonlight, and he knew that this was his next film, and I think he's done a really fantastic job here. There's some really powerful shots and sequences. There's a lot to connect to, and you really feel for these particular characters, especially Tish and Fonny. Like, you really feel for these particular couple and the relationship they have and what they're going through and how difficult it is, and how they're both young and trying to overcome the obstacles that are thrown in front of them. What Barry Jenkins was able to accomplish with the film really reflects James Baldwin and the experiences he had and what he went through of being in America in the 60s. Before that, he lived in Paris for a number of years and then decided to return to America during the time of the Civil Rights Movement. And it's quite powerful, the books he wrote during that period. It's told in this unique voiceover that remind me of 25th Hour, that Edward Norton's character voiceovers that particular film. But by doing that, I first wondered why they used a voiceover when they could have just shown the imagery, but I realized that it was because they wanted to use James Baldwin's words, the power of his words, what he had written in the novel, and how that was expressed in the book, and how Barry Jenkins wanted to capture that on film. And there was a lot to really like about this film. I think I liked Moonlight a little bit more. I connected a little bit more to that film than I did this, but I still think this is a really solid film and he's done a really great job. I do have a couple of criticisms with this film. One in particular is it has a little bit of pacing issues. There's particular scenes that we see, especially in the flashback stuff, that is important in a way but doesn't serve completely to the story. And these sort of scenes sort of weigh the film down a little bit and they take a little time to regain the pacing. I found all the flashback stuff is interesting and there's a point to a lot of it, especially telling Trish and Fonny's story and their relationship and how that develops. But I found what was happening at that point, when we introduced in that particular moment of him being in prison and her trying to get him out and deal with everything that's happening and transpiring in her life with the support of her family, the most interesting part of the film, I guess. And there are flashback sequences, like I said, that are really powerful and really well done, but I would say that would be probably the one thing I would say that I sort of had a little issue with, is the pacing of the film. Now look, it is a slow film, it is a slow burner, it takes its time to tell its story, but I think that's an effective tool that Barry Jenkins really takes advantage of and does a really great job here with that particular technique. There are particular characters I would like to see a bit more of in the film, especially Brian Tree Henry and Regina King and the other family members as well of Trish's family, which I didn't really go into a lot of that. But I know the main reason I get the main reason they did that is because it's really from the point of view of Tish and experiences that she has. And the flashback stuff, when she's not in the scene, is told through a voiceover, so she's really telling that story as well. And that's why I think we didn't get to see a lot of the other characters, or a bit more of the characters than we did see in the film itself. But ultimately I enjoyed my experience with this film and would recommend it to other people. Final verdict. If you like a good, solid, well-told story, you might like this. If you're a fan of Moonlight and Barry Jenkins, you might enjoy this as well. I think it's a very powerful story, well told, and it's a very interesting film. And the techniques in it are fantastic. The way he tells the story and the way it is shot is absolutely fantastic. There is a real beauty to this film. There's a power in the imagery we are exposed to through the film. And it's just a beautiful story in a way, even though it is difficult and tough that what these particular characters are going through. I'm going to give If Beale Street Could Talk 4 out of 5. I enjoyed myself here. I thought it was beautifully shot and well done, and I was really impressed. I don't know if it's going to be a film for everyone, but I think that it will find a really good audience, and people do, in my opinion, it is worth your time, I think, because I think it's such a great dramatic piece and well put together that I was really impressed with it. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit subscribe down the bottom. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.